Over the last 50 years or so, we've begun to use chemical pesticides and chemical fertilizers. While these chemicals have increased our crop yield by great amounts, they have some disadvantages too. Chemical fertilizers can cause pollution to the soil, and if it rains, these fertilizers often run into ponds and rivers and pollute those water bodies as well. Pesticides are in some ways even worse. Pesticides, if inhaled, can cause a lot of respiratory tract diseases, and that's why this person is wearing a mask. These pesticides can cause air pollution, they can cause soil pollution, they can cause water pollution as well. Pesticides often stick to our fruits and vegetables, and if we eat those fruits and vegetables without washing them properly, pesticides can get into our bodies and wreak havoc. They can cause diseases, even diseases like cancer. So, what we want is to replace these chemicals with better alternatives. And we're going to discuss one of those alternatives today. So, let's say you have a tree. You want this tree to grow well, and so usually you'd add some fertilizer so that the tree gets some nutrients, right? But today we're not going to do that. We're going to add some bacteria. We're going to add these bacteria to the soil in such a way that these bacteria start providing nutrients to the tree through the roots. These bacteria can provide nitrogen to the tree through the roots. I'm sure you've heard of these. They're called the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So what they're doing is they're substituting chemical fertilizers. Microbes that help plants grow better by improving the supply of nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus are called microbial inoculants. Sounds fancy, but we're actually talking about these microorganisms which are giving nitrogen and phosphorus to the tree or the plant, right? Now, these bacteria are pretty selfish. They don't give the tree nitrogen for free. They get something in return as well. What these bacteria do is they get energy in return from the roots of the tree. So this relationship is more like a you scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of relationship. And so we call it a symbiotic relationship. Two examples of bacteria that do this kind of job are Rhizobium and Azotobacter. Now, they work with different plants. We don't need to get into details, but these provide nitrogen to the plants and trees. Now, you may be wondering, how do we, apply this bacteria onto the roots? There are a few methods. Now, we could either, apply it on the seeds for certain plants. For certain plants, we could just add it to the soil and the bacteria would find their way to the roots and start providing nitrogen and getting energy from the tree. In certain cases, we would have to take the plant when it's really tiny and dip the roots in this bacteria and then plant them back. That also works in certain cases. Okay, so we learned about microbial inoculants, which are like a replacement for chemical fertilizers. Next, we're going to learn about bioinsecticides. Now, I'm sure you know what bio is, and I know you know what insecticides is. So let's put it together, bioinsecticides. I'm sure you've understood what it is. These are insecticides, but using organic matter like microbes to fight the insects, right? To fight the pests. So they don't harm plants, but they kill all the harmful microbes and the harmful insects. They usually either fungus or bacteria or viruses. Not all fungi or all bacteria, all viruses can be bioinsecticides. Some of them are bioinsecticides, right? Okay, so this is just an illustrative picture, but it looked cool, so I added it here. This is actually a picture of a virus which can eat up or rather kill bacteria. I'm going to discuss two examples of these bioinsecticides. I'm sure you know one of them. Maybe not the first one. Let me first bring out the first one. The first one is called nucleopolyhedroviruses. Usually we abbreviate it as NPV. Fancy stuff. Leave it aside. Let me give you another very simple example. I'm sure you know the next example. Neem leaves. Neem leaves are organic matter, isn't it? And they fight insects. I'm sure you've heard about this. If you place neem leaves next to the roots of the tree, insects won't come and try to bite the roots because insects don't like these neem leaves. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, so in this video we discussed bioinsecticides and microbial inoculants, right? What are the advantages and disadvantages of these? Let's discuss the advantages. They increase soil fertility without causing harm or pollution to the soil. They reduce our chemical fertilizer use, and yet they help the plant grow healthy, right? And they're very sustainable because they're not polluting the environment. What about the disadvantages? There must be something, right, which is stopping us from using only these and removing all our chemical pesticides and fertilizers. Well, the biggest thing is that they're a little expensive and they're not as quick to act as chemicals. So it takes a little while for these microbes to get to work. Okay, let me remind you what we went through today. We discussed about microbial inoculants. These are basically chemical fertilizers, but an organic version of them, right? And then we discussed bioinsecticides, which are like pesticides, but an organic version of that, right? That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.